How's it going, guys? Judas here. Welcome to the video. I want to start by thanking my subscribers. At the time of making this video, we're pushing close to 2k subs, which, you know, for something that I do just for fun, that I enjoy, it's greatly appreciated. So thank you for that continued support, subscribers old and new. Thanks so much. This is my Stamina Sorc setup for the Harrowstorm patch. I'll cover the full setup in detail. Gameplay is linked in the description down below if you want to see a 1vx stage. That original video got to 100 likes in like 2 to 3 days. Lot of interest in the build, so that's why I'm putting it out there. As always, I'll put the builds out anyway. Stamplar, people are asking about Stamplar. Stamplar will be coming soon. I've got a 1vx stage, I'll link that below, but I've not yet finalised what I want to run. Stamplar is really strong in so many areas. This patch, well, it has been for so many patches, and there's a lot of variety, there's a lot of choice in what I can run. So when I get something definitely that I am running that's optimized for 1vx that I enjoy, I'll drop that. I'll drop that video straight away. I'm going to also put pin timestamps commented down below. That's just to help people push through the video. If the videos generally are quite long, I like to tend to go into detail rather than be brief, but I also want people to have the option, if they want to skip along something, they can do that. Like I said, some people want to skip along, however, I'm doing this to go into detail about the skills and setups, and I never promote copy and paste builds. When I push builds, I want people to learn a mechanic or learn something or adapt it to their gameplay, or even from class to class, like stamina classes to stamina classes. So I want this to be helpful, but with that being said, if people want to jump around, timestamps are in the description, just jump away. Before I get fully into the build, I just want to talk in the introduction just about some mechanics and setups around the build, things you need to know. This is a 2H sword and board build with pet. Now, I've specifically designed the build this way with the pet because it allows for a burst heal in place of rally, and then you can utilize forward momentum and elude. This combo is really popular. I'll get into this more in detail in a little while. But it's just really good to use. The only thing that stops Sorcs utilising that I've found is not having access to a burst heal. That's why we run the pet. But I'll get into more detail with that in a second. But with that being said, let's get into the character sheet. Self-buffed with forward momentum and hurricane. We're at 5.5k weapon damage. That can easily go to around, I think it's 5.6, just under 6, 5.8, just under 6k we can get with the weapon damage proc off of the front bar as well. The health regen and stam regen with pot, they can go up to 1.8, and obviously you've got extra damage and sustain through continuous when you factor in that. The crit resist is fine, the spell resist and physical resist is pretty strong for a build with high healing and high mobility, and just max health, stamina, Magicka, just pretty balanced really, pretty much what you want. So overall the stats are great. What's great is that you can actually get this very easily without having to work for a conditional proc. Using hurricane and forward will keep this up pretty much all the time. Okay, having seen the character sheet, I'll go into more detail now about the item setups, the sets that we're running. Front bar, we run New Moon. New Moon is just so strong, really balanced. I like utilising its split bar because it allows for a defensive set to be included as well, which obviously is Potentates, potatoes. You know, you get it. And we go powered here. This just really helps the healing. When we run poisons, double dot cost on the back bar. And then we go Nern, Maul on the front, just for the extra pen. It works out pretty well. So this is basically the offensive set that we're putting into the build. This is where we're getting most of the damage from, and this is our defenses. Now, shout out to the guy that said this. I forgot about this. I should have mentioned this sooner. If you want, so Potentates is only active on the back bar. If you want to have it set up on the main bar, you can do that by using jewelry, and then you can back bar the second set, which is 7th Legion. So that's just an option for people that want that damage made up all the time. Potentates, most people know, you know, 2-piece, reduced damage by 5%. It's such a strong setup. A lot of people like Black Rose dual wield, but for me that's just too much of a carry, and you need to slot a move to utilise it. This is just passively on this bar, we're getting 5% reduced damage mate, which makes it really strong. We talked about New Moon. Okay, Troll King is our source of healing. when you're not playing Stam DK and you're not on, even Stamplat to an extent now can push really, really high heals. A lot of classes before, it used to be weapon damage, the higher you got, the higher healing you got. That's not as reliable without major mending, without other supports of healing. So Troll King is just a really, really nice source of healing that I'll talk about in terms of our food, and it synergizes really, really well with the way we set up the build. 7th Legion synergizes really well with Troll King. Now, a lot of people will be thinking, why not Fury? Alright, there's a simple answer to why on this specific setup I don't want to run Fury. And it's basically because of this. So Fury, you could control. In a 1vx, you could get Fury ticking up high, and it would stay high. Like now, you've got to get it up there, and then after 5 seconds, I think, of reaching max, it will go off. On this setup, all we've got to do is mistime our Hurricane, so we can see instantly by activating the Hurricane, I get the 7th Legion proc. Wait till it goes out, you'll have like 4 seconds left on your Hurricane, maybe 3, and then you've got it again. So it's less, but it's instant, it's on demand. And as well as the damage being instant and on demand, you can maintain like really good uptime on this by timing those Hurricanes to proc it. And also we get health recovery. I talked about this in terms of synergizing with our Troll King. If we go back to the character sheet and we see when we're buffed up, you know, we've got really, really strong HP regen. Even with a pot, I mean, we can push that higher. Like, we can push 1-8 on both health regen and stam regen with pot up most of the time, which we'll likely will have. And so the uptime on this is what makes it effective, alright? Not knocking Fury. Fury is a great set, but this synergizes much better with the build. So 7th Legion, that's where it's at. So the 7th Legion, we have to use the heavy pieces on the legs and chest. This gives us our best resistances. Then we go 2 heavy, and then the rest of the pieces are medium. So we can throw the jewelry on 7th as well. I've recently gone stam regen on this, just kept it robust, and then I've got 2 infused weapon damage. This seems really balanced, and I actually like this more so than going fully infused, full damage. It just I'll come on to this, but I know damage can be, you can get damage higher than what I'm running, but it's not needed. Like, there's a power creep, there's a point where returns become diminishing, and everything you put into it, you're only getting so much more out, and that's where it's better to stack into other areas, to utilize and optimize with other areas. So don't go all damage, change this as you will, but I like stam regen there. With the 2 heavy pieces, that makes up the 5 7th Legion, and then we're forced to go medium Troll King, which we would do anyway, and then the rest of the small pieces medium for the new moon. And those are pretty much the sets, sort of referencing how they work and how they synergize with the build. Moving from the sets, a couple of other things I want to go through. Our food, we run Artaeum, obviously. Artaeum is just really, really strong. This is strong and gives better all-round higher stats, but you're struggling without the stam regen. So Artaeum is just really, really strong. You look at that, it got a nerf recently, and it needed that nerf, but it's still so strong. You look at the flat health recovery 406, we're proccing 1-8 health regen without pushing Troll King yet, and so it's just really, really strong. Poisons, I still stand by knockbacks when outnumbered. If you want more damage, you could run crit and savage pots. Obviously these aren't needed depending on your setup, but I like to chop it, change it. There's no definitive answer for pots, it all depends on the situation. When you're needing to heal a lot as well, like tripots can also be useful, especially on stamina sorks, as Magicka can easily be converted into stamina, so that's a good return on that. But use whatever you like there. In terms of our race, Master Race, as always, it's, have I gone past it? Yeah, it's there. I love Orc, like, it's just balanced. Health, big chunk of stam, and then we get flat weapon damage and movement speed, which is great for Stam Sork. Don't stress, like, Nord, not even Nord, any other sort of generically good stamina class, stamina setup would work here. Don't stress about not being Orc. You can run this pretty much on anything. I just feel like right now it's optimized for Orc ever so slightly, but feel free to run whichever setup you want there, whichever race you want. Okay, Alchemy, please make sure you get this up. When I'm talking about the 1-8 stam regen and health regen, that's because we get this up, so it's really important to make sure you do that as well. One more thing, I've not talked about my Mundus is Warrior. So you could push higher, but with pot up and fully buffed, you're peaking around 1-9. Plus you've got dark deals. You've got a good sustain anyway. So I'd always take the weapon damage, but that's something you can adapt and change. Next, we'll cover the skill bar, the setup. I've talked about this a bit before, so I'll go into more detail now. So as you can see, character sheet really, really high. It's just balanced where we can get to what we get to straight away with a rally as well. Obviously, we can get to some good damage. With the weapon damage enchant on the back bar, I think it pushes to just under 6,000 weapon damage, which is just enough for what we need, sort of tooltip wise. Okay, so we'll talk around the pet mechanic. The pet is strong. Anything in this position is strong. I'll talk about what I mean by that now. But if we buff up, like, the pet heal is just insane. Like, for a 4k Magicka, we're getting like a Breath of Life 11k Clan Fear heal. And the things we get from this passively anyway are great. Ignore the damage is just completely lackluster. It might be something that like aggro's like just some randomer or something, or it could, some people can attack it. I've seen that happen. Most people won't. But yeah, it's just really strong, and like I say, it allows that burst heal. Without rally, which we're not running, most people would still need a burst heal. So it's a first source of healing. We'll stick on this bar while we're at it. Our vigors are also really, really nice on this. Okay, so we go 23.5k, 23,500 almost health over 4 seconds. So having these separate sources of healing that both can proc Troll King is really, really strong. Our third source of healing is our Dark Deal. Dark Deal is just Stam Sork. It's where it's at. All right, we get 11k health, 3k Stam instantly, then the Stam return over time. So straight away we've got 1, 2, 3 sources of healing plus our Troll King, while still having high damage and high speed. Elude, this is what I'm talking about. Elude's really, really strong. So normally most medium builds would run, I say normally, this has been about a while, but most medium builds would run Shuffle here, and they would run Rally for the burst heal. But forward is our snare removal. It doesn't cost hardly anything, like 2k, and we get a 4-second clear of snares, which is really, really strong, and obviously the weapon damage. And then Elude, when you're playing outnumbered, basically while this effect is active, when you take damage from a direct, the wording's strange, direct area of effect attack, but like, don't worry about it. It's pretty much when you're outnumbered, the things that people are throwing on you, something's going to be proccing the condition to give you the speed. And then you've got all the heals that you wouldn't have necessarily on 2H and Bow, plus the speed of 2H and Bow and the damage. Our last skill on the back bar, and this is a flex spot, I really, really like Ransack just for the fracture. You've got some AoE damage capabilities in this build, but it is mainly high mobility, single target. So after casting, we get the minor protection. We get that anyway passively from there. Other options include sort of other 2H, other 100 shield moves. Low slash is really, really nice as well, just for the main. So you can see this one is afflicts all enemies hit with minor main. So this is like your defensive option, and then this is your offensive option, flex spot. So that's pretty much the way I like to run this, back bar, defensive bar. If we go over the front bar, we need the pet active on both bars. Actually, I'll go over the pet passives real quick because I've not mentioned those yet. Where are we? This one. Okay, so obviously we've got to have the Clan Fear active on both bars to keep the pet up. But passively, this is something that this is a line that a lot of Stam Sorks don't always utilise, and this is a really, really strong passive line. So we get the Magicka back when the pet dies, not really much. Reduced cost is just amazing, you don't need anything procced for that. But this one is amazing. Daedric protection, so HP regen and Stam regen by 20% while you have a Daedric summoning ability slotted. So this is what really allows our health regen and our stamina to stack, and the pet provides the burst heal. Elude provides the mobility, you've got the snare removal from forward. Everything just synchronizes really, really well together. And then we get this passive as well, max health, which is always nice when you're playing a build that's where you want to be playing outnumbered and you're taking a lot of pressure. Getting health by 8% in a way where you're just sort of getting it passively, it's a great return. So it's really, really worth doing. It's really, really useful. I go Hurricane front bar. Like, obviously 7th isn't front barred, it's main barred, so you could have this on the back bar, but I like having sort of a defensive turtle bar, if you will, like, so I can stay on this bar and keep defending, keep active. I only need to switch to the front bar for the hurricane to keep that up. I'm forward and I'm away, but feel free to move those. One thing I will say is that passively, by having hurricane on the front bar, we get where is it? Yeah, this one. Increase your weapon and spell damage by 2% for each sorcerer ability slotted. So we are getting a cheeky little bonus there, which is nice, just by slotting those two. Just by slotting those. Okay, execute. I wouldn't go for the AoE morph this patch, just because the damage multiplier. Like, I loved it when this was up and Poison Inject was up. Like, Burst was just intense then. But like right now, 400 up to 400% more. These the way this calculates, it's really strong. This is the morph you want. Dizzy, I'll cover tooltips as well while we're here. Dizzy's quite fat, you know, 15,500, which is strong. Dizzy still works really well this patch when you're charging up the partial heavy and you're managing the stun. So I'm liking this. And then Dawnbreaker as well, also really good AoE, and you know, we get good damage off this. This is conditional damage that can get higher with weapon damage procced as well, but we're almost always going to be over 20,000 damage with this. So it's nice. It's nice not having to wait for Fury and to be in control of sort of your uptime of damage and deals. So yeah, and forward obviously is just our snare removal, really cheap in comparison to rally, because we're not getting the burst heal on that as well. So those are pretty much the skills. Combat and burst rotations for this build are really simple. So obviously you want to be making sure that you've got your long abilities active. So elude, you know, you press this once and it's looking after itself. You know, you're always getting the damage mate from the 25%. Yeah, 25% from AoE, which is really good for like leap and other Dawnbreakers and not now jabs. I think that's direct damage, but a lot of damage is mitigated by this, and then you get the movement speed proc condition. So this is a long buff that you want to make sure you're keeping active. Obviously, make sure you've got your pet cast as well. If you don't have your pet cast, that's going to really it's not going to work. Basically, you'll go for a burst heal and you won't get the burst heal. You'll get like a delay, 1.5 second cast time. So make sure your pet's up before combat. Those are your main two sort of long buffs. Then we've got obviously vigor. We need to keep that rotated up. Dark deal. Offensively, we want to make sure we're going in. We've got our 7th procced. We've got all snares removed. We're going light attack or heavy attack into ransack, bar swap. Now that is really clean and looks really fast. That's something that's not been nerfed. Sort of block and a lot of animations have been nerfed. You can't get them off as fast. They've invented APM. Like, I'm not even going to go there, but that's the sort of way you want to be attacking offensively. Food's run out, so let me deal with that real quick. And then as soon as you're onto that, you want to be going with the dizzy swing. So dizzy swings, make sure you're charging like a light or heavy attack up before. You want to get that off. That will obviously proc our weapon damage there. So this is what I said earlier. I showed it was like 5-5. This will take you to 6k easily, clear that. So yeah, that's where the damage is coming from. So you want to make sure that you're lining that up as well. So light attack, dizzy. Then this is where you've got the option. Before it would have been a stun, but now you've got the option to do a partially charged medium attack, they're calling it, or keep doing a dizzy swing rotation. So most of the time they're tanky targets. They'll take a couple of dizzies. After the few dizzies, you want to hold down the heavy attack for a bit longer, but then block it off, just like that. Literally, that is all you need. You don't need to let it swing and see the animation. Dizzy, light attack, charge, let go, and that cheeky little sort of nudge will create the stun. At that point, if they're squishy targets, you can go in with the execute, or you can go in with the Dawnbreaker if needed. One thing I will say about execute, it used to be really nice to a block cancel. You can still dodge roll cancel it. You'll see in my video in my 1vx stage, I'm getting good with that. Dodge roll sort of you can utilise as you are still in medium, but I'll come on to CP in a moment. Block, you can block a lot and you can soak up a lot of damage that way anyway. And obviously Dawnbreaker got nerfed, well, ult's got nerfed across the board in terms of cast time, so you can't hard cancel this now. So it is what it is. For ages I really liked Onslaught. I still do rate Onslaught. However, when you're taking groups down, Dizzy's better. You just need to be aware of using it. You don't want to use it not out of a stun. you want to be landing it on the back of a stun. As with any lag or latency or delay, people will move through this. It's not as powerful as it once was. So that's pretty much the sort of combat rotation. I think I've talked about most things in detail. Obviously you've got the pet burst heal, the vigor heal, the dark deal heal. Those are all three really strong multiple sources of healing. A lot of people make the mistakes when they've watched my videos. They prioritize and they was like, oh, I've gone full recovery or I've gone full damage. In ESO you've got to stack into things, and that's the way you'll see returns, and eventually you will not stack in something else and you'll choose to stack in something else and you'll get good returns. It's about a build being balanced and really, really well rounded. This is just my CP, feel free to adapt and change it. Obviously I've specifically made this to work towards mechanics and sort of the setup that I've shown today, but yeah, do what you will with it. It's just pretty much my CP. So 61 Warlord for that break free cost, 1 in Siphon, most people do this now, they know this. Then we split this like really, really nicely here. So tenacity is just, it's untapped resource, it's untapped sustain. Like if you are getting heavy attacks off on both bars, which is easy enough to do, it's extra free sustain. Tenacity is always worth having. And then we split into Mooncalf and Healthy. Obviously we're stacking into HP regen, and Mooncalf is our stam regen as well. And the rest is just an even split here. We still like to dodge roll, tumble in, but block commit is useful as well. So this tree is pretty much min-max the way it is. I really like running it like this. Okay, damage, even though we've got multiple sources of healing from Troll King, this will affect our pet heal and our vigor heal, so this is worth running 27 here. It just gives an extra nice return, and the extra damage from putting it into different parts of the CP tree, for me, just isn't worth it. This is much better. 2 in physical weapon expert, 81 in master at arms, because as most of our damage is hard hitting direct damage. 56 into precise strikes. This is something that you may want to go higher, but we don't necessarily just rely on crit heals. Crit heals are great, but we've got a variety of heals, so even when they're not critting, we're still getting good, not good damage, but a good amount of healing from there. And then we go piercing. This is calculated perfectly. You know, this split works really, really well. Next tree, the main source of damage this patch, it's not going to be dots. It's going to be hard hitting burst, which when you're running a build with limited burst heals, you know, you can't keep the clamp up all the time, and some people might sort of kill it, and you'd be struggling in that way. You'd want to make sure that you're protected against high damage burst, because if you're relying on your hots to heal and you've not got a burst heal, this is something that it will really, really help that. And we split these just for extra resistances. Passively you can see we've now got the same resistances, which I prefer. Some into crit resist just to get to that cap where it's pretty good. And then thick skinned, this patch, I think Zos made the mistake of not listening and made dots intense a few patches ago, and now sadly, like Poison Inject's got caught up in this. Everything's now just being caught up in this. There isn't one dot in the game which I think is a reliable and good dot. So excluding jabs, jabs is now direct damage. So you know, don't worry too much about it. It's like the last thing I like to invest in damage mate wise, just because dots really they aren't hurting as much as they would have done before. And then an even split into hard hit and elemental defender, and then the last 15 into quick recovery for 4.2% there. So yeah, that is pretty much the build, guys. Drop your thoughts, comments, opinions below. As always, thank you for the likes and the subscribers and all the support. That's really, really greatly appreciated. If you enjoy my content, feel free to subscribe. Would appreciate that as well. I'll be dropping, when I get round to it, updated builds for my Stamplar, my Stam DK, and my Magblade. I really enjoy playing those classes. I know there's a lot of sort of push on certain things being the meta. Long following fans will know from me that I don't necessarily tend to play. I like the OG classes. I like what I like Warden, Necro. You know, they're peaking right now. They're strong, but I still would like to push the OG classes and push things out on my existing class. So yeah, feel free to check back. I'll link those things in the description. But that's pretty much it from me, guys. So take care. Judas out.